While you may not expect it, Satisfactory's roaring machinery and rumbling hydraulics are more meditative than they are disruptive. In this chaos, there is order, discrete veins of resources, equipment, and ingenuity all scurrying in different directions but leading to a common goal. Dropped onto an alien planet lush with life and land, your job is to mine resources and build stuff, which is turned into bigger stuff, which is then combined with other bigger stuff to build even bigger stuff. Stake your claim to a piece of land and it's up to you to establish a base of operations, a functional real-time factory that slowly but inevitably grows outward, overtaking more and more of the surrounding land. Managing that growth is a task of creativity and efficiency. For any given piece of equipment, you may have 4, 5, or more machines involved in the manufacturing process. Miners extract the raw materials, smelters turn those materials into workable resources, constructors turn those resources into parts, and the process continues, while crisscrossing conveyor belts carry items from one destination to the next. Meanwhile, all these machines require power, so you're connecting wires with poles and poles with generators, themselves requiring various resources to generate electricity. The power your factory needs at any given second fluctuates in real time as all your machines start and stop, so keeping overall capacity above these fluctuations is important. If capacity is breached, your factory shuts down. Coffee Stain Studios combines organization, exploration, and experimentation into an absolutely magnificent base builder. Your factory's mesmerizing mechanical rhythm, along with the planet's beautifully saturated color palette, make it easy to forget that Satisfactory is still in early access, and there's plenty of stuff on the docket, including mod support and a full narrative. Satisfactory's sizable open world is split into 4 sectors, each differentiated by geography, environment, and density of resources. Once you've picked a spot to start, your Fix-It Incorporated overlords drop you onto the planet and leave you to prospecting. A scan from your build gun marks any resource deposits around you, and it's a good idea to establish your hub nearby, which, if not at least early on, serves as your factory's nexus. Inside your hub, you'll find Fix-It Milestones, a quasi-main questline that'll upgrade and unlock new machines and equipment once you deposit the required resources. The farther you get, the more complex the orders become, adding to your ever-evolving, ever-growing factory. The emphasis here is on efficiency. Resource deposits never empty. Instead, they come in qualities like pure or impure. The better the quality, the faster you're able to extract resources. What matters most are the rates at which your machines take in and produce resources, and the consequenting flow of those resources. As an example, a single Mark I miner on a normal iron deposit produces 60 iron ore per minute, and a connected smelter then produces 30 iron ingots per minute. Move your miner over to a pure iron deposit, and now you're producing 120 iron ore every minute, meaning you can connect more smelters, which means more ingots that get turned into more parts via constructors, and so on and so forth. All these machines are dependent on one another for resources. A machine working at a low efficiency rating sends ripple effects downstream. Likewise, overclocking a machine to get it producing more resources faster can increase production. It's incredibly dynamic. If something goes wrong with your factory or something's not working right, diagnosing and fixing the problem can become a multi-step process where you're rerouting conveyor belts and overclocking different machines. It's trial and error, but with the ability to see the hard numbers that result from your work. With its emphasis on efficiency, things are relatively player-friendly too. All the parts needed to build come from your inventory. Break a machine down and all its parts and contents return to your inventory. Since you can play at your own pace, mistakes are easily correctable and experimentation is usually low risk. Satisfactory is a fantastic puzzle of math, physics, and engineering, but its design isn't only smart, it's clever too. As you unlock more advanced machines and parts, you still need lower tier parts to complete their construction. Iron plates, for example, are a common item you'll need early on. They're used for Mark I conveyor belts, which are a necessity. Mark II conveyor belts use reinforced iron plates, partially made by normal iron plates. Of course, a resource that's in your factory's circulation is one thing. They're an essential part of the production line. But machines like conveyor splitters that you have to build from your inventory also require iron plates, meaning iron plates stay relevant even as your factory becomes more advanced and uses higher tier parts. Keeping lower tier items relevant isn't only functional, it's fun. You'll continually add to your factory rather than replace and overwrite it, the task being to keep it efficient and not a hopeless mess. I started my factory in a small canyon at the edge of a cliff, itself surrounded by pure deposits. It's a great spot for a factory, though unbeknownst to me was just how much my factory would spread out. At the time I thought, hey, a factory at the edge of a cliff, that'll be cool. Well, now I've got metal platforms artificially extending the cliff's edge and all kinds of odd angles that make falling to my death just one bad jump away. My factory is really more of an OSHA house of horrors than anything else. On death, you spawn back at your hub, leaving behind your inventory. So for me, falling to the bottom of the cliff is more annoying than it is punishing. In any case, the silver lining here is that fitting my factory into this canyon and over the edge of a cliff provided me with an enjoyable challenge, no doubt something Coffee Stain Studios intended. Granted, as you've probably noticed, it hasn't exactly been the easiest thing to do, and on a scale of perfectionist to throw it at a wall and see if it sticks, I'm definitely the latter. So if you don't mind, I'll take this opportunity to fix some stuff up, at least while I have guests over. I have 3 main power stations, 2 groups of coal generators, and a few fuel generators. Coal generators need coal and water to produce electricity. Both are relatively common resources, if not always found next to each other, at least in my experience. One of my coal generator power stations is right next to a body of water, which works great. The other station, built first, I sat next to a deposit of coal while routing the water up a hill. That elevation has caused some problems. As the pipes move uphill, water has trouble getting through them and keeping up with the intake from the coal generators. Pumps on the water line fix this problem, but these pumps require power too. The way I have it now works, but moving these generators closer to the water could make them more efficient and might reduce how much power my factory needs. It definitely would have saved me some trouble in the past. To do this, the first thing I'll need is all this vegetation cleaned out. Next, I'll need to lay down a foundation, transfer all the coal generators, set up the necessary infrastructure, connect all of it, and my power was reduced, but my capacity is fluctuating. Before all this, it was holding steady at 2400 megawatts. It could be the flow rate of my pipes, but I suspect it's my fuel generators. Fuel generators use residual fuel to generate electricity. Residual fuel itself is produced from refineries with heavy oil residue, which also comes from refineries. Refineries can produce both liquid and solid material. I've got most of my refineries making plastic, which heavy oil residue is a byproduct of, but the plastic is backed up. It's being produced faster than it's being used, and when backed up all the way to my refineries, the refineries shut off, meaning no more heavy oil residual, sending a ripple effect down the line, leading to my fuel generators running poorly and my power fluctuating. To fix this, I did a bunch of stuff that requires multiple steps, and for brevity's sake, we'll just skip to the end, where I've got my plastics running better and my power's back at a consistent 2400 megawatt capacity. So what's next? Well, I need motors, and lots of them. Motors require rotors and stators, but my stator production is slow because they need steel pipes, and my steel pipe production is severely lagging. Steel is made from coal and iron. I have plenty of coal and iron in my factory, but it's all being used for other stuff. This is a case where my resources are stretched thin, and the best solution is to venture out and find more. There's no rule in Satisfactory that you need to keep your factory as centralized and condensed as possible. Keeping everything together may be more convenient, but your factory's layout is ultimately up to you. Whatever the case, bringing resources into your factory from afar itself takes a lot of time and resources, and the challenge isn't just bringing enough material to complete construction, but building your way through tough geography, around toxic flora, and fighting off dangerous fauna. For the additional steel that I need, the closest untapped coal deposit is a kilometer southeast of my factory, and leads me over a canyon, through a toxic swamp, and up a cliff. The closest untapped iron deposit is even farther away, also southeast, running through a thick forest and sitting nearby quite an exquisite view. To make steel ingots, you need a foundry. All of my foundries are on the northwest edge of my factory, the direction the nearest coal deposits happen to be when I placed my hub. Now I've got iron and coal coming from the south southeast though, so I've had to adjust a bit, or else I'll have more conveyor belts crossing all the way through my factory. To avoid that, I placed my new foundry on the southeast side of my factory, and after running miles of power lines and conveyor belts, I can send more steel pipes directly to my constructors, making stators. And with that, stator production has increased, which will lead to more motors. So we've experimented, we've explored. I guess now we could better organize this monstrosity, which I'm not even sure where to begin. But bear with me. My line of screws is pretty, well, it's bad. I've got, I don't know, like 1,000 constructors making screws, all of which lead to 5 technically 2 manufacturers and 3 assemblers, but that doesn't really matter. I'm gonna need to find a way to better organize this.